Welcome back to Black Clover Anime Review, episode number 119. This one I'm viewing episode 169, The Devil Binding Ritual. And the 286th chapter of the manga, A Night with No Meaning. Now with this episode, unlike last week's episode which covered 4 chapters, this one surprisingly only covered 3 chapters this week. Now, as this episode, because of the fact 286 just came out this week, as of right now, the anime is exactly 19 chapters behind the manga. Yes, 19. And it's kind of good the fact that next week's going to be the last episode because I don't think they can do any more because there's not enough material to do another set of episodes. Like, 117 is looking at a place to stop for about a year. Hopefully it gives enough time for the manga basically to produce more material over the course of the next year. Now, what happens in this episode? Now, the episode starts off where we left off last week, where you have Noelle, Mimosa, Charmy, Leopold, and Nero, where they're basically saved by the people from the Midnight Sun. Now, what Noelle says here is actually a swap of a basically order of dialogue here. Yes, because in the manga, oh look, it's the third eye and the leader of the Midnight Sun. In the anime, they swapped it. Yes, they swapped it. Like, oh look, it's the leader of the eye of Midnight Sun and the third eye. I thought this actually was a much better way to present the scene. I thought it was kind of weird. They said, oh look, there's 3 people behind him, then the leader, which I thought that was kind of weird. When you do people, you basically say, oh yeah, this is the leader, and that's it. Which, kudos for the anime for doing it. Most of the scene is pretty much intact from the manga, with the exception of that one set of dialogue. Mostly, it's a lot of very much straight from the manga. So, basically, and we also see these 2 elves, basically, appear in this scene, these 2 elf children. And of course, Nero is basically like, wait. And of course, it's mentioned that these 2 are the descendants of the first Wizard King, and, well, basically his sister and the leader, and Licht, the leader of the elves. And it's actually shown in flashback that the princess actually survived. Basically, Nero sealed up her wounds because one of the twins, yes, it was revealed that she had twins, not just one child, but twins, sealed it up. It's a bit of expansion, basically, with doing the manga, which is in the manga, it's like briefly explained, showing like one panel that's happened, which I appreciate the anime basically for expanding. It's like she seals the wound up, and then they show her basically doing the thing where she lifts up a particular object and goes to help the prince battle basically his actual brother-in-law, who was turned to a frickin' demon. Yeah, which great the fact it did that. And of course, Noelle basically asks Patry, that's his name, not Licht, as you see, this character in the anime was originally introduced as Licht, but that's not actually his name. He took the name from the actual Licht, a guy he respected. And here, you have him basically appear here. Now, his body, I should point out though, is not his actual body. See, Licht's body is actually the demon skull is shown frequently in the Hyde Village. That is the actual body of Licht, believe it or not. Yes, in the anime, it's not exactly fully revealed exactly where this demon came from. It was mentioned in the opening narration of the series. And it's not revealed until this very arc that it was actually the leader of the elves. He was the one basically became that demon. And, well, it was also revealed through some manipulation by the evil demon who was actually responsible for technically a lot of the stuff that we see over the course of the anime. And this guy's body was actually artificially made. Yes, it was artificially made by, I believe, Sally who made it. And this basically, now, Patry himself is actually sharing a body with William Vonchen. Yeah, they shared a body. It was quite an unusual pairing. It was actually the first time they actually had elves sharing a body. Though these 2 would swap back and forth. They had William apparently asleep, per se. And the reason why that Patry is in Licht's body is because something that the necromancer one of the three associated with the enemy son, one of the three like wizards that they hired for their organization. He was the guy, but I don't remember the guy's name. It's not Vados. Vados is the guy voiced by Chris Guerrero in the actual English. I don't remember this guy's name. This guy was very arrogant, but I just know him simply as the Necromancer. He basically trapped Patri's soul inside this body purely because the fact he was very vengeful toward him, and he trapped him inside his body. And after this particular moment, that was the last time we saw Patri in the actual anime, even the manga too. I mean, up until you saw this particular scene at the end of chapter 264, it had been quite some time since he was last seen. A good 50, 60 chapters. In the anime, it was probably a lot longer, because Patri had not technically been seen since the end of the reincarnation arc, which I believe was episode, I think it was 128, 2, I think it was. Yeah, this is episode 169. It had been a good over 40 episodes since his last appearance in the anime. Mainly due to the fact that, the reason why was because a lot of original stuff, and they kind of basically speak to the manga as it is. So, basically, Noelle asked to teach him some special magic or some training to take on, what happened with Vanika and her devil. And he agrees, I'll teach you the ultimate magic. That's what he says. And then we cut to, I actually do appreciate the anime do this, where you actually have sort of a bit of anime original footage here. Yes, a little bit of anime original footage. About let's say a minute. We have Asta, Charlotte, and Rill in the Wizard King's, I believe this is actually still in the captain's meeting room. Probably just after the vice captain agreed to train Asta. Because in the manga, this is quick 2 panels. And that's it. The anime, I appreciate, though, they actually show the full, almost not exactly the full conversation per se. But of course, Wizard King himself, Julius, is worried about what happened to Heart Kingdom. So then he's contacted by Gajin. And he explains all the spirit guardians are safe. And of course, they mention this. This is also mentioned by the elves. That all the spirit guardians are safe. And they even show in the anime, which is something they did not show in the manga, from what I can tell. Yeah, they didn't show this in the manga. Where they actually show the moments where they kind of, in the way, saved saved those people. Saving Noelle, Mimosa, Charmy, Leopold, and Nero. Where they actually show them saving them. Gajin, for some reason, was not taken with them, because he was not one of the Wizard Kings. One of the Magical Knights. And plus, also, and this is my personal opinion, that the reason why they didn't take Gajin, because they never met him before. Because Gajin was introduced after they were. Yep. So, he basically explains exactly what happened. And, of course, Charlotte basically still wants to go after, get Yami, because she's in love with him. And then we have a very interesting scene here. Now, this is also a bit of expansion, basically, which is in the manga. We have Natchet going to visit the Black Bulls. Where currently at the hideout, we just got, it's Gajint, Gray, Vanessa, and Fenrir. These 4 are there, and they've never heard of it before, which is definitely true for the manga, because, the guy was kept a secret, and he says, why don't we see before? Because he says he hates the Black Bulls, and because he's the vice captain, he can do whatever the heck he wants. Which is quite strange, though, because they've shown a couple of the squad's vice captains in the series. I'd say about 3 of them. They show the vice captains for the Purple Orcas, Golden Dawn, and the Coral Peacocks. They have not technically shown anything for the other squads in the series, though the thing with the vice captains are in the series, they show to be very arrogant. Yes, very arrogant people. Until the vice captain of the Golden Dawn stepped down and handed off to Yuno. In the case of Nachin, he's a bit arrogant, but not over the top arrogant as the other ones. I would say the worst case of this is the vice captain of the Purple Orcas. He is by far the worst one because of how terrible a person he is. Despite the fact he's basically portrayed by public knowledge as being a very polite person, the actual guy himself was a jerk. Yeah. So, basically kind of paints a picture, basically, of how much he doesn't like the group at all. And Gray herself basically points out that you should not judge a book by its cover. Which, it's something, though, he mentions everybody but Gray for some reason. Like, he mentions basically describes Ganjin, Fenrir, Vanessa, Zora, and Magna, but not Gray for some reason. It's quite strange. Now, you're probably thinking, is this cut from the manga? No, this is how he talk in the manga, too, which I'm like, does he not know about Gray? Oh yeah, it is shown in the actual manga in the anime itself, a bit of expansion here, that his magic is actually, aside from using devil powers, he has shadow magic, which allows him basically to move into like almost like a portal to like, and of course as mentioned by Asta, like, oh yeah, your magic's similar to Fenrir's, but it's very useful. And they come across basically a house. They say he says it belonged to a certain noble, presumably him. Not expected to expand upon here. I'll talk about this. So this is basically a ruined house per se. I would say by appearances wise, even by the manga, they never specifically stated whose house this is. This could be Gotcha's house. It's possible. Or it could be Nacha's house because they mentioned he was actually a former noble. And they basically said we have to do the devil binding ritual. And they go to a room and then basically he activates a spell called Dark Garden, which takes him and Asta to this crypt. Like someplace like underneath. They never actually show. They never thoroughly explain this place. Not even the manga bothered to fully explain this place. It just basically, this is a place we have to conduct. They explain that it's a place where they conduct the devil binding ritual, and they use these pillars around the place, which is true in the manga. They're full of skulls. The people who actually, now these skulls belong to people who tried devil binding ritual and failed. And then of course Nacha basically summons Asa's devil. I'm not going to name his name yet, well, for a person for the anime, even though I have talked about the guy basically in the actual manga reviews itself, when it comes to this review series. It's Libe. That's his name, Libe. He does review the like few chapters after this, where he shows up and you see him. And in case you're curious though, did the anime change the color of his skin? Did they change anything about him? Surprisingly, no. Because that's the way normally, sometimes anime, they might change the coloring of some characters. I think one I can think of is... I'm trying to think. I think this happened with Bleach in one of the anime I watched, where they actually changed the character's hair color. In the anime, in the case of this particular devil, nothing's changed about him. Got the same white skin, same scars in his face. Nothing really much has changed about him per se. Where basically you have to where Nacha mentions that he has to basically make this devil submit to him. And he basically, first thing he proclaims to him is he thanks him for basically helping all the battles. Which, yes, that did happen in manga too, so not really much change there. And he basically was like surprised the fact he was thanking him, despite I think he was going to fight him anyways. So, yeah. So, pretty much, like, he begins his battle with him. And of course, he has to basically try to make him submit. And he also mentions at the end of the episode that, oh, he's not a bad guy. Not all devils are bad guys. And also mentions he's not like the Daredevil they fought. I mentioned the whole thing about the giant form thing, which I thought was quite hilarious. Which, that is actually anime original, believe it or not. And then the episode ends exactly where chapter 267 ended. Where you have basically a flashback of a woman who looks exactly like Asta. Now, there's been rumors about, since this character first showed up in the manga, this character might be Asta's mother. They've not actually confirmed this at all. No, the writer of the manga have just never confirmed that this woman is Asta's mother. It just basically people assume is his mother due to the fact these characters look very similar. Yeah. But this is a great episode, and next week, the Devil's backstory. And this will also be the final episode of the series, believe it or not. Yes, I am looking forward to it, and I'll discuss more about my thing what I'm talking about here. Alright, now I'll talk about this new chapter in the manga, A Night with No Meaning. Chapter starts off basically where Nick is basically jealous of his brother, who gets all the good stuff of being rebel. mentions how his brother used to hang out with Yami. And he joined the Magical Knights by the same time as Yami did. Now, Yami in the actual anime was explained that it was Julius who recommended he joined the actual Magical Knights. And, well, we see him actually join the Great Year. And his parents basically says, you will inherit the house of Faust, Notchent. Now, Notchent basically was thinking, wait, isn't that the name of the other character, the younger brother with the black hair? Yeah, it turns out basically, I think it's actually the older, like... So, the younger brother, well, the one with the white hair, the one that smokes, is gonna like Lakshmi. Just forget I'm the oldest and have the Morgan. Have Morgan inherit the... Yeah, basically your character's Morgan. It's like, no. You'll be the one to inherit the House of Faust. And He's like, huh? Shadow by magic, invitation from Dark Guard. And kind of leads into stuff related to the, well, Devil Binding Ritual. So while the other younger brother basically was practicing, they basically started to form his contract with Devil. And then Morgan somehow steps in. Like, talk about forbidden magic is a crime. I imagine that Camp Lucas. Do Supreme Devil, something like that. Here and now. Yeah, his brother basically says past limits. And he summons his devil. Like, wow, really big one. And, like, the parents are killed. And, of course, Morgan basically does something to his brother. He puts a bracelet on him to basically, sort of in a way, bind the magic to him. And shows that Morgan dies. He says Morgan, he really cared about him. Yep. He forgot himself. Here and now, special limits. Now, this is going to be quite strange, though. So apparently, it's kind of confirmed like that Notchent is this guy here, even though by appearance-wise, he looks like Morgan. I mean, yeah, it looks like Morgan died, per se. Maybe he took his appearance as a basically honoring him, whatever. So he says this is past his limits, and that's it. It's nice we have a bit of a backstory on the character, but it just seems as though with like we're just basically just saying like bullet points, like boom, 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 and basically mention one thing about Morgan. This kind of does expand upon basically was mentioned by Notch when we first showed up. Like, oh, you look like the other guy. Is like, oh yeah, that guy's dead. So what exactly happened here? What exactly caused Morgan, who had whitish hair and basically smoked, to transform into basically what we see now? It's not exactly fully explained here per se, but this is an okay chapter per se. It's like not everything was fully explained here, and so I'm still a bit scratching my head exactly like, excuse me, like what? Now I get the reason why. Now I don't have a problem with the fact we're trying to expand on this character, but I kind of wish we had a little bit more information here. It's almost like we have partial story here, and maybe it's incomplete. I have no idea. Well, next chapter comes out Sunday, so I'm going to give the chapter 8.5. Basically having an excellent set of chapters for quite a while in this manga. We come to a pretty disappointing chapter, per se. Yep. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for my comic corner. Not comic corner, a comic book history we're going to do next. Or talk about Avengers in the 1970s. Okay? See you next video. Bye.